time for a bit of Jim Does SuperCoach, talking out NBA Supercoach Week 6. What a week it was! How did you go? I did okay. I think I just posted the score. What was it? 944 for the week. So ranked 337th overall in the top 1%. Not bad. Feeling okay. It was just a strange week, I feel. There's a lot of sort of load management, missed games here and there. Targeting the teams that are on the 4 games this week worked okay. And then, of course, Jaylen Jenkins sits out. You're breaking my heart here, Jaylen. But the average comp score for week 6 was 759. So it does tell you there's a lot down the bottom of folks not paying attention. A lot of Wemby ownership, a lot of Dylan Harper. Now that he's back, that's okay. But otherwise, the top 10% average was 935. Top 5% was 957. So that tells you there is not a lot of wiggle room in that top 10% from 1 through 10, where you've got, obviously, with a shared player universe, hey, here we are going, of course. Your biggest scorer of the week was always going to be Josh Hart. Congrats to anyone. The 241 coaches who had him on their team already, you are the real heroes. I'll tell you that much. I did actually sort of like, my trades worked out okay this week. I brought in Cade Cunningham, Jaylen Jenkins. I was tossing between, obviously, Cade and Ant-Man last week. I talked that out on the show. I ended up going with Cade. Felt like the floor was going to be just that little bit higher than Ant-Man's. And then, of course, Ant-Man went ballistic and scored 136 across the week. But that's only 5 more than Cade. Yes, he's like 2.5 mil cheaper. But by the same token, I can just roll with Cade. He sits there. He's got a nice little schedule coming up anyway, so I'm okay with that for Detroit. So, where does this leave us though? With week 6 in the bag, I mean, as I said, I'm feeling okay. Ranked top 1%, 337th. That's good. How do we make that next jump up? Well, it's going to get a bit tricky over the next couple of weeks. Why is that, Jim? Well, the schedule. Let's talk about this NBA Supercoach schedule because it's going to get funky. Not funky, funky. That's what it's going to do. You might notice, if you go through your players this week, 26 teams will be playing 4 games this week because it's an extra long week of Supercoach, right? So we go from Tuesday, December 2. That's tomorrow. I'm taping this on Monday night, as I always do. That week of Supercoach finishes on Tuesday, December 9 because of the NBA Cup, right? So then everybody sort of decamps off to Vegas. Well, they play a bunch of like the quarterfinals. Then we have semifinals off in Vegas. So by the time we get to December 9, you've got these 3 games and that's it. And then we go from that to December 10, which is NBA Cup gear, right? And Supercoach just pretends NBA Cup doesn't happen, which I'm actually okay with, right? Because you got a very, very limited player pool. We don't know what teams will be playing then, because what we've got is this setup where you've got the quarterfinals on December 10 and 11. Then we've got other games, right? Then you go to December 14 and you've got the semifinals. Then you get to the actual final itself and away we go, right? December 17. Then Supercoach picks back up, randomly enough, for week 8 of Supercoach from December 18 on the Thursday through to the normal Monday. So we've got a supersized week this week, week 7. Then we have 9 days where Supercoach just does not exist for NBA during the NBA Cup. And then we pick it all back up in week 8 for a short week. And then we roll back on as normal. How's that? All nice and confusing? Of course, well, it's not that confusing, but it just basically means from the very get-go, everything that we're looking at for the next couple of weeks, especially for this week, just proceed with caution. All you need to do is check how many games your players have. Very simple, right? You've got your roster, go through, see what games they've got coming up, check their schedule. Have they got 3? Have they got 4? With 26 teams playing 4 games this week, you should have a full court of folks playing 4 games, which I'll get to later with SGA, but still. And also, like, if you want to plan for it, that super short week off in the future as well, there's a battery of teams that have 3 games in that short week as well, which is a bit of an up. So if you're going to make trades this week, make sure it's someone who's playing 4 this week and then 3 that week too. So anyway, it's pretty crazy. Proceed with caution. Make sure you know what games your players are playing. Pretty simple, I guess. Anyway, that's it. So the other sort of big news, I guess, is injuries. Giannis came back, which is very cool. We sort of suspected he would, because that team is absolutely horrible without him. But it was right, everyone was right to jump off, because missing a couple of games, that's just going to slice his point total for that week. He's going to come down dramatically. You're going to lose a bit of cash. He might keep shedding if he doesn't hit a next break even, etc. So probably smart to still jump off. Steph Curry's also out for at least a week. Scored 41 before he went out. So that was a bit brutal as well if you had Steph. Sabonis is out for a month. We've talked about that last week. And really, there's just like a couple of these smatterings of rest days where NBA Supercoach is very fun. It can also be very frustrating where you can't be switching and changing lineups throughout the week. Your bench is kind of your bench. And you only have that bench cover really to generate cash. Or if you have like somebody who is going to play and then is just like injured in, I don't know, training, which they don't do. So it's pretty wild. Anyway, outside of this, who are the top 10 scorers this week? We're going to do another quick one this week because you might be able to tell I'm still not quite 100%. Still a bit nasally. But Ant-Man and Josh Hart tied for the top score this week at 136. Not bad. Cade Cunningham was 131. Very nice. Luka came in like a wrecking ball with 130. And his mate, part of the Snowtime Lakers, Austin Reeves, had 125. He was next up and in 5th. Keegan Murray came out of absolutely nowhere as well. He's returned from injury. He hasn't missed a beat. 122 for the Kangs. My beloved Scotty Barnes, Scoob. I told you he'd be good. 121, 7th ranked overall. And Zach Edey had a monster game today that vaulted him into the top 10, 115. Ahead of Jokic in 9th with 113 and Sadiq Bey, because no one else on that Pelicans team was playing this week. So would have preferred a big Derek Queen week, but Sadiq Bey went off instead. SGA finishes off there 11th with 109. Cat 108. We sort of knew that the Knicks had a really good schedule, but I mean, it's not quite bust territory. Like Cat has 108. Brunson had 93. You're kind of like maybe hoping that Brunson would go a little bit bigger against the, basically the opposition they had this week where they played Brooklyn. He managed 26. Against Charlotte, he only had 19. Then rips off a 32 against Milwaukee and only managed 16 against Toronto. So bit of a disappointing Brunson week, but at the same time, he's now down to 15.3 mil. So just saying, don't mind that. Anyway, otherwise, biggest bust per ownership. Who was that, Jim? Well, I know it's a bit weird because like VJ Edgecombe is still owned by like 43.7% of coaches, had been injured, came back and really hurt his sort of like break even, etc. by playing and scoring 11 points. He's now got a break even with 37, so it's probably not that disastrous, only playing the one game. But it probably puts a bit of a stymie on his cash gen. But by the same token, if you don't have VJ Edgecombe like I do, it's not a bad idea to like, oh, hang on a second. Well, he's sort of stalled out at 7.7 mil. There's a bit of room to go there. The problem is I think Philly's schedule over the next 4 weeks for Supercoach purposes isn't that great. So that's why I've sort of held off. I'll talk about this, the trades I'm going to make later. Like Maxi is awesome, but by the same token, yeah, we can probably just hang out for a second there. Just saying. Otherwise, the biggest bust, I mean, Con Knippel was brutal. 39 this week, owned by 44.5% of us. He had a -1 in there against the Knicks, which is tough as, and a 13 against Chicago as well. That killed him in only 3 games, but I still trust in Con Knippel. It was always going to be a strange one, right? Because like LaMelo comes in, comes back from injury. Brandon Spindles Miller came back as well. And so suddenly Con Knippel's like role has changed just that little bit. I'm not that concerned about him at the moment. He's still very, very good. Still managed, he's got a break even of 74 this week. Could he hit that? I mean, after a week where he had -1, 13, and 27, they do play 4 games. They have a Brooklyn game, a Knicks game, Toronto, and Denver. I think he'll be okay. So I'm not going to be too concerned about Con Knipple. Buzelis, that's a bit more of a concern if you've got Buzelis still in your team. He's still owned by like a quarter of the comp. 36 this week. He just doesn't quite have the all-round effective Supercoach scoring that we thought he might. Like the rebounding, a lot of the rebounding stuff has been taken by Giddy, Vooch, and stuff like that. So Buzelis is kind of a little bit out on that stuff. The scoring obviously has been taken over since Kobe White's come back. So yeah, it's a bit of a tough one for Buzelis. I was saying Buzelis. Larry Markkinen managed 52 over his 3 games. It's just a bit of a tough one anytime you're talking about the Jazz. Larry was fine. Andy Nemhard is back. He's owned by 10% of the comp. 35. He's had a really rough run of shooting. A couple of the big names, you sort of think about, I don't know, the likes of Devin Booker. He was one that I was kicking around a bit. He scored 83. Jim, that's not a disappointment. I know. It was just not quite the crazy heights, but that's all right. Donnie Mitchell managed 69, 71 for Durant as well. Like, this is the thing with the rest days. It's like, really, like you take out one score of a player thing and suddenly you're staring down the barrel of like, under 75 is not great for some of these, wannabe primos. So other ones out there like Cedric Coward, the rookie, 37. Daniss Jenkins only managed 25. CALAMARI BOYLES, a.k.a. Colin Murray Boyles. He got up to 28 this week, which is okay. It wasn't looking very good, but he had a solid game against the Knicks today. And I'm like, if he's on your bench, I don't mind just seeing if he keeps just getting better. Like Toronto, they kind of play him. And he has a good game. He has a bad game. I'm not too concerned about it. The Wiz, however, it was I sort of, we foreshadowed this last week. You can't trust the Wizards. 11 points for Whitmore, 6 for Keyshawn George. As tempting as some of the Wizards could be sometimes when they have these low break evens, they only played the 2 games this week anyway, so it's like whatever. Yeah, not great. So those are some of the disappointing ones. Cash cows. Had a good question on the old YouTube as well. From a Supercoach lens, can you do a bit of a trade down target list for the Rooks? Maybe not the guys who are going to make big cash from bottom price because they're probably gone. More like sleepers who might get an uptick with injuries, tanking, etc. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of good ones out there at the moment as well. But it's still early enough that we can really just latch onto a few cash cows as the comment was basically, all right, we're going to look at this and go, what are the injuries and the role changes? You look at someone like Jaylen Wells, finding his feet right now. Cedric Coward's shot sort of come and goes. Wells, consistent role. No Ja Morant for the minute. He's got a break even this week and a minus 11. He's at 6.7 mil. That's a really good cash cow. Right? Jaylen Wells is going to play. We know that. He provides a lot of value and across a lot of different sort of aspects of your Supercoach scoring across the board. I love him. So I'm all about the Jaylen Wells. Even going from Coward down to Wells, which is probably what I'm going to do this week, is not a bad idea. Other ones that I do like is Dominic Barlow. So injuries, Kelly Oubre is now out. Dominic Barlow comes back. He's been really, really solid. 5.6 mil. Love him. Until Kelly Oubre comes back, he's got a free run at scoring like 19, 20 Supercoach points here and there. Jay Huff, 6.6 mil. He's got a break even of 3 for the Pacers now that he's back and sort of finding a bit of a groove. Bryce McGowan's on the Pelicans. Same sort of vibe, right? They've got no dudes left playing for them. He's at 4 mil, break even to -1. So there's some good low break evens for some cheapos as well. Even someone like Vince Williams, break even of 29, but 6.6 mil. He just has like a little bit of a run where he's like, oh, hang on a second. I'm going to just keep handing out 15 assists. What do you guys reckon? And you go, well, I like that. The other ones that I want to keep an eye on, Jarris Walker, 5.9 mil, break even of 16. But again, it's difficult to sort of judge with the Pacers, but it feels like Jarris Walker sort of turned a little bit of a corner, playing a little bit more, delivering a bit better. The other one to keep a real eye on are the Nets rookies. Yay, go Damon. Benny Sarif, Danny Wolf, Drake Powell, right? Yegor, 5.9 mil, break even to 20 this week. Benny Sarif, 3.5 mil, break even to 19. Danny Wolf had a big game. He's at 3.5 mil. He's only got a break even to 6. Love that. And Drake Powell, break even to 28, 4.5 mil already. They're the ones who are just going to play, right? This is the thing. Like if you've got them, Brooklyn suck, and you're going to have some up and downs, but these are the guys that are super duper cheap. You can just keep an eye on them for the minute. Like, Damon is sort of coming along a little bit. When he hits his shots, he's like really good. And at 5.9 mil, if you want to have like a bit of a point of difference of a bit of cash gen on your bench, he's not a bad option, right? So just saying. Terrence Shannon Jr. is the last one I'll talk about. 3.5 mil, break even 24. The Wolves love him. He's gotten back. He's in the rotation here and there, but the thing is, it's just still a little bit too spotty. So maybe just going to steer clear of him for the second, but keep an eye on him. So there's a bunch of like trade down, like Maxime Renaud as well on the Kings. With Sabonis out for a little bit, he's now getting a lot of run. Super cheap downgrade target, your backup center from Kalkbrenner or somebody as well. But yeah, like someone like Dylan Harper that people might have forgotten about, VJ Edgecombe as well, right? These really gun rookies that still have pretty high ceilings. Like they're still going to make a bunch of money. So I wouldn't be too afraid for at least another couple of weeks of jumping on at those sort of prices just to see what they can and can't do, right? Con Knipple, I'm not going to jump off him. Cooper Flag, I'm not going to jump off him. Cedric Coward's sort of one of those other ones where you go, it's sort of plateaued just that little bit. And, you know, once the sort of plateau hits, you're sort of trying to figure out like, so Cedric Coward went backwards this week. He dropped 220K. That's about the point where you're like, okay, we might jump off. But Colin Murray Boyles, he dropped, what, 360K. And I'm still not wildly concerned, really. He's got to break even to 47 this week. He's not likely to hit it, so you can probably jump off Calamari. But they've got a 4-game week. He plays Portland, the Lakers, Charlotte, and Boston. He might get a nice little bit of a run. And the same thing sort of goes for Cedric Coward. But I mean, with Jaylen Wells, I'm sort of just staring at this going, I just want to do that swap. So there you go. Speaking of which, trade targets for week 7. What are we going to do? So 26 teams with 4 games. So you've basically got carte blanche for this week with your trades. The big question is, if you've got SGA, do you move off him? Because OKC, randomly enough, only have the 3 games this week. My answer here is probably yes, because I think at his price point, I'm just probably going to go straight from him to Luka. I feel like Luka with 4 games this week. The Lakers have a back-to-back against Toronto and Boston in that 4 games. That's the pause I've got with Luka of like, do they maybe rest him for one of those games? But I'm not really concerned about the NBA Cup stuff for the Lakers as well, because that's a little bit further down the pipe. So we'll see what happens. I think I go back to Luka this week from SGA. The health looks good. The production's been fantastic. You watch him just like go out there and throw 130 on your head this week. And it's like, yeah, he's really, really, really good. So I think I'll go from SGA to him. The other one for me is Jalen Duren. Got a day off this week and it was pretty brutal. I can also go from Duren to Jalen Johnson, which again, I think he's probably got a slightly higher ceiling. And like the way that the Hawks play this week, I mean, he's just out there nearly ripping off triple doubles, right, as Jalen Johnson. He's on his way to being an all-star. He looks incredible. He's at the 19 mil mark. He had 98 points this week. And they play Portland, the Lakers. Wait a minute. They didn't take it. They play Detroit, the Clippers, Denver, and Washington. So there's a couple of pretty good matchups in there. One or two other ones are a bit iffy, but don't really mind his lineup. So I'll probably go from Jalen Duren to Jalen Johnson. We're just switching out Jalen's at this point. I might just quickly look at that sort of Jalen Duren spot. Sort of feel like if, you know, they're going to maybe give him another rest day. I don't know. Do we just roll with him for one more week? Give him a crack. He plays Atlanta. He plays Milwaukee, Portland, and then Milwaukee again. So I don't know, Jalen Duren or Jalen Johnson? That's going to be my question. The other one is obviously Cedric Coward. Do I just go straight down from him to Jaylen Wells, maybe CALAMARI BOYLES to Wells as well? Not entirely sure, but I like Wells on the bench. Just a bit of cash gen with, you know, the sort of side swapping primos to really maximize this, you know, scoring opportunity this week. Making sure that we've got 4 games for every player on our court. Very simple stuff. I mean, the other one I've sort of got, like, you know, with Duren in there, Cade Cunningham, etc. I'm feeling okay about most of the setup. Like Con Knipple, that's okay. the SGA to Luka is probably the one that I, will fret over the most. Jalen Duren, sort of maybe just dig into his numbers. What's his history against some of these teams as well? He's been really, really good. But since Jaden Ivey and sort of the rest of the team is starting to get a little bit healthier, he's ripped off, since his big 32 against Atlanta, he's had 21, 21, 18, and then 32 against Orlando the other day in a really good game. So we need to see more of those 32s, but there was that stretch earlier on in the season where he was just pulling off a 45, 22, 41, 43, 38, 27, 43. And you're yeah, that's what we need from Jalen Duren. So he's had a pretty good game or two already against Atlanta. He had 32 against them as well. He's now got 2 games against Milwaukee. He only managed 21 against them last time out. Portland, he put up 46 against them one other time. So I don't know. Maybe we just keep Duren and see what else we could upgrade. But for the minute, SGA out, Luka in, Duren probably out for Jalen Johnson. We'll see what happens. Do we feel okay about starting Derek Queen on court again too? I kind of think I'm okay with it because the Pelicans, without Trey Murphy, Herb Jones in and out as well, right? They need warm bodies, and he's been pretty good, so I'm okay with that. All right, but that's it. That's it for the NBA Supercoach one again today. Just another quick sort of dip in, dip out. The biggest thing this week is just the schedule. Make sure you're on top of it. Make sure you got a bunch of your favorite vibes out there as well. You can't really go wrong if you're just backing in your dudes, right? And some of the schedule stuff is you look at with 26 teams playing 4 games this week. You're okay, so the teams that have 3 games in week 8. It's Atlanta, Miami, Minnesota, New York, the Spurs, Chicago, Washington, Toronto, Houston, Sacramento. It's all right, you can choose from that, whatever. Toronto, Houston, not great lineups. You've got Atlanta, Miami, Minnesota, New York, though. Look at Brunson. I think he's a really good, excellent, cheap option as well if you want to go down from SGA to Jalen Brunson and upgrade elsewhere. But I think Luka is just so good this week that I'm just sort of going to roll with him. And by the time the Lakers come out of the other side of the NBA Cup, who knows how we're looking, but I'm feeling all right. But there you go. That's it. So we'll be back on Wednesday for the NFL Supercoach show. In the meantime, make sure you're following NBA Straya, NFL Straya, Jim Does SuperCoach on all of the socials, all that sort of stuff. Twitter, Facey, IG, TikTok, YouTube, all that stuff. Jump in the comments, say g'day, ask any questions you want me to have a crack at. Rate, review, star across all of your podcast apps, of course, as well. Big thanks to From Moslow, Joshua De Laurentiis for the intro and outro song. This has been Jim Does SuperCoach, NBA Supercoach. Here's to a big, big week 7. You ready? It's a long one. All right, strap in and happy supercoaching.